Здравствуйте, товарищи. Welcome to day 48 of Russian Through Propaganda. Today we have one more day of review. We've reviewed nouns and adjectives, and we talked about how to decline names. So today we're going to look at just a few odds and ends, right? Pronouns and special modifiers. Quite often it happens that these are neglected a little bit, especially the pronouns, but as you can imagine, they're some of the most commonly used words in the language. So if you're serious about this whole Russian thing, it would be really good to nail down these forms today. So let's start with pronouns. And remember that we have two interrogative pronouns, right? Что and кто, what and who. And we know that those have full sets of declined forms, right, for the various cases. Then we have on and no, right, our third person forms. There are their forms. Now remember that those forms of the third person pronouns that would normally begin in a vowel, right, like yeah, for example, or e, they have special forms that begin in n, and we would always use those after prepositions, right? So those special forms with n are for use after any preposition. Okay, so let's fill in some blanks, and here we're basically just substituting a pronoun for a noun. Sometimes this trips students up a little bit, right? So let's think about what we're doing. The first one, я видела маму. Okay, here we're using interrogative pronouns, right? So look at the model, I saw mom, and we're asking a follow-up question, basically asking them to repeat, right? Whom did you see? Okay, so we need to fill in a form of кто that would agree with mamu, right? Mamu is in the accusative, so we need the accusative form of the pronoun, namely кого, right? Кого ты видела? Кого ты видела? Number two, we're talking about father, about dad. Okay, about whom are you talking? And again, we need the prepositional after о. О ком вы говорили? Sorry, about whom were you talking? Number three, we were talking about history. About what were you talking? О чем вы говорили? Четыре, we were watching a movie. Okay, what were you watching? Accusative. Что вы смотрели? Пять, she is writing, or she writes with the pencil. Okay, that's instrumental. So we need to ask a чем question, right? Чем она пишет? With what does she write? Шесть, he works as a lawyer. Okay, again, there's the instrumental. We talked about how you can use instrumental to talk about professions, right? And the question is kind of like Jeopardy, right? Кем он работает? Кем он работает, right? As whom does he work? Сiem, I believe, my friend. Okay, the verb верить simply takes the dative, so we need to ask a dative question. Кому ты веришь? Right? Whom do you believe? Number eight, мне помогал мой брат. Okay, be careful. The word there is in the nominative, right? My brother helped me. Who helped you? Okay, who is the subject of the question verb, right? Кто тебе помогал? Nominative. Nine, I've gotten used to Russian food. К requires the dative. To what have you become accustomed? Right? К чему ты привык? What have you gotten used to? 10, он ездил туда с другом. He went there with his friend, round trip. With whom did you go? Right, there's kind of a non sequitur there. Should be, with whom did he go? С кем он туда ездил? С кем он ездил? Right, with whom? Let's see, 11. Это письмо от сестры. This is a letter from my sister, right? So again, a preposition от, we know that takes the genitive. So, from whom is this letter? От кого это письмо? Do not sit. We're on our way to see our neighbor. We're going to our neighbors. We're on our way there now. To whom are you on your way? Or something like that, right? And к takes the dative. К кому вы идете? К кому вы идете? Okay, let's fill in the same thing now, but instead of interrogative pronouns, we'll use just basic third person pronouns, right? Кому ты писала? Right, okay, so we could answer that question. The question is, to whom did she write, or to whom was she writing? Okay, we could fill in a noun, or if we know who we're talking about, we could substitute a pronoun, right? So we could say she's writing to him. In Russian, we just need dative, отцу. All right, that would mean, right, she's writing to father. Now, the pronoun for that would be she's writing to him. We keep the dative case, right, masculine, ему. Ему. Right, so be sure you understand what we're doing here. Again, it's not that it's really difficult, but I know from experience that sometimes confuses students who I think really shouldn't be confused by it, right? So I don't know really what it is, but It trips people up. Okay, let's take a feminine, right? To whom was she writing? Well, we could use a noun to answer that, right? To her sister, dative, sistria. Or we could substitute a pronoun, right? She's writing to her, right? Dative, feminine, yay, yay. Right? We're just substituting the correct case and gender for the given noun, right? Remember, that's what pronouns do. They take the place of nouns. Number two, with whom were you sitting? With the neighbor. Соседом, or with him, с ним. With grandpa, с дедушкой. Now remember, that's masculine despite having feminine endings. So with him, we would say, using a pronoun, с ним. Right? With him, meaning with grandpa. Three, about what were they talking? Or about what were you all talking? About religion, a religii. Okay, about it, right? We're substituting a pronoun for religion. Now in Russian, it's going to be a feminine pronoun, right? And we need the prepositional with o. So that'll be о ней. About a cat, о кошке. About it, meaning the cat, feminine. Again, о ней. Четыре, at what were you looking, right? Accusative. На что вы смотрели? What were you looking at? At a tree. На дерево, right, with our noun. But if we say we were looking at it, meaning at the tree, we need a pronoun that's accusative, neuter, and we need to be sure to use the special in form after this preposition, right? So на него would be the answer. На него. Мы смотрели на него. We were looking at the river. That would be на реку, or на нее. Okay, a quick aside here. A very common Russian idiom, в чем дело, would be the question version of this idiom, meaning in what is the deal. And that can mean all sorts of things like what's the matter, what are we talking about here, what's going on, things like that in English. So here are a couple more examples. В чем дело, right? What's the deal? What's going on? In what is the deal? Что случилось? What happened? Дело в том, что blah, blah, blah. Машина опять сломалась, right? The thing is, the deal is that the car has broken down. Okay, so watch for those idioms. They're fairly common, right? В чем дело, very common question. Okay, what about first and second person pronouns? Well, again, they have full forms. Now with these, the picture is a bit simpler because they don't have special forms for use after prepositions, right? So these are quite a bit simpler than the third person pronouns. Now, note that ya is a bit tricky because the forms of ya that start with an mn, and you see there are three of those, dative, prepositional, instrumental, those require a mobile vowel to be added to any preposition that ends in a consonant. Right, so here's a quick overview of some common ones. Со мной, во мне, ко мне, надо мной, подо мной, передо мной, and somewhat oddly, обо мне, right? You might think they would just say о мне, but formally at least you add the b plus a mobile vowel, обо мне. Okay, so those are, again, think how often you would talk about yourself, right? So you would use these quite often, presumably. So good to learn this little pattern. Okay, we've talked a bit about how to read prepositional phrases, and in a lot of ways we read them as though they were a single word, or at the very least a single sort of phonetic unit. And let's look at this. If we have a vowel, an o, for example, in the preposition, right, which could happen if we're adding a mobile vowel, right, the mobile o. Well, the stress typically in Russian is on the object of the preposition, not on the preposition, although that can also happen. We'll see that more later. But anyway, assuming the stress is on the object, including it could be a pronoun, right, then the o in the preposition isn't going to be stressed. So we'll say ah, right? It reduces to ah. By the way, never, at least not typically, to right? So prepositions only reduce to ah. So we say things like со мной, во мне, ко мне, надо мной, о ком, в чем. Okay, there we get something different, right? The assimilation, the devoicing of the v, в чем. Right, sounds more like an F. От него. Okay, again, the at And then него, right? That reduction of yeah, which you may not remember very well. We talked about that on day 2, I believe, right? That yeah and ya also reduce in certain positions to more of an I sound. And finally, knemu. Again, that reduction of the yeah. It's not knyamu, but knemu. Okay, so let's fill in a few blanks here, starting with ya, right? Do you not love me? Okay, again, we got to be thinking about what case do we need, right? Here we need accusative. Ты меня не любишь? Number 2, you don't believe me. That needs the dative. Ты мне не веришь? 3, will you not help me? Right, again, dative. Ты мне не поможешь? Number 4, call me. Also takes the dative. Позвони мне. Will you not go with me? Не пойдешь со мной? Со мной. Again, with the mobile vowel there. Ты, right, what did he say to you? Dative. Что он тебе сказал? 7, she doesn't see you. Accusative. Она тебя не видит. 8, with you, it's hard to live, right? It's hard to live with you. С тобой трудно жить. 9, what kind of apartment do you have? Right, requires the genitive. Какая у тебя квартира? 10, why don't I help you? Okay, again, dative used with helping. Давай я тебе помогу. Okay, let's do a couple with мы. Will you not go with us? Не поедешь с нами? Number 12, what are they saying about us? Что они о нас говорят? Right, prepositional. Now, вы, I always helped you. Okay, again, dative. Я вам всегда помогала. 14, she's going to the movies with, or is she going to the movies with you? Okay, again, this could be polite or plural, right? We don't know. In any case, the instrumental here would be Она идет в кино с вами. And 15, do you guys have a car? Right? Машина у вас есть? Right? Genitive with u. Okay, look over the special modifier Vase. Right? So a tricky little, again, special modifier. So we know it's going to be basically act like an adjective, but its forms are going to be a little bit weird. Now, usually if you look these over, you can get a handle pretty quickly on what's going on. Vase, it's a soft form. We see the soft form. And in the masculine, we see a mobile vowel that drops out whenever we add an ending, right? And if with those two things in mind, I think this is completely regular, actually. Right? We're getting soft endings everywhere. Vase, вся, всё, всего, все, всего, etc., etc. Right? So let's fill in a few blanks. By the way, a poster, вся Москва строит метро, right? All of Moscow is building the subway. All Moscow, вся Москва. Who ate all the caviar? Кто съел всю икру? Right, feminine accusative. Number 2, the cat drank all the milk. Okay, neuter accusative. Кошка выпила все молоко. Number 3, do you want the whole cake or half of it? Хочешь весь торт или половину? Number 4, I love you with all my soul, or with all my heart, we'd say in English, right? We need instrumental, feminine. Я люблю тебя всей душой. 5, he took a round trip around the world, right? He traveled around the world. Or he traveled throughout the world, we could say. We could also say вокруг света, meaning literally around the world. Anyway, он ездил по всему миру, right? He went all over the world, let's put it that way. 6, I wish, or I desire peace in all the world, right? That's the way Russians say, I desire world peace. Я желаю мира во всем мире, right? In all the world. Во всем мире, masculine prepositional. Number 7, I don't even want to know about that, literally, meaning I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to know anything about it. И знать не хочу обо всем этом, right? About all that, about all this. И знать не хочу обо всем этом. 8, she helped all our family. She helped our whole family. Она помогла всей нашей семье, feminine dative. 9, thanks for everything that you've done. Спасибо за все, что ты сделал. Okay, remember that все can also mean everything, or literally all stuff, I guess, all the stuff, everything that you've done, все. 10, similarly, все, remember the plural form can mean all people, all things are all people. And so far in the book, we've usually seen that to mean everyone, right? Все это знают, все это знают. Everyone knows this. But again, in Russian, we're literally saying all people know this. All know this. And that explains why we get a plural verb with все. Все это знают. 11, she did all the work. Она сделала всю работу. Or all this work, sorry. Всю эту работу. 12, there's not water in the whole city. Во всем городе нет воды. Okay, let's look over Ajin, right? Another special modifier. We see that it's generally taking hard endings. The only exception really is the instrumental Ajnim, right? Ajnim, that unexpected soft ending. So again, aside from that, these endings are fairly predictable. Okay, Ajin can mean one. It can mean alone. It can also mean the same. Right, so look over a few examples here. Я возьму один кусок пиццы, right, one piece of pizza. Он всегда занимается один, he always studies alone. Мы жили в одном городе, literally, we lived in one city. That is, we lived in the same city. Я возьму одну чашку чая, I'll take one cup of tea. Один мужчина вас спрашивает, so one man. This is almost like an indefinite article. It can almost be used that way in Russian. Sort of like we'd say a man, right? A man is asking for you, some guy, some man is asking for you, right? Okay, and finally, История одного города. That's the name of a novel. Anyway, the story of a certain city. Again, kind of used like an indefinite article. The story of a city or the story of a certain city. Okay, let's give a few examples. Would you like one piece of candy or two? Ты хочешь одну конфету или две? Right, will you take one beer or two? Ты возьмешь одно пиво или два? Три, пожалуйста. Number 3, will you take one little pie? Пирожок is like a little stuffed little roll, basically. It's a little pastry. Or, although it can be savory too. It's just a little snack. Ты возьмешь один пирожок или два? Right, will you take one пирожок or two? Yesterday, I made the acquaintance of a certain young lady, right? Okay, so с одной девушкой. All right, number 5, мы с ней учились, we studied with her, she and I studied in the same class in school, right? В одном классе в школе, or in the same year in college, that's referred to as курс. Right now, we're in the same class in college, or the same year in college. Теперь мы учимся на одном курсе. Okay, look at the forms of che, right? Again, kind of tricky, but the spelling is kind of weird, but basically we've got a mobile vowel that's dropping out, the yeah. Everything is kind of squished into a soft sign, and then we add soft endings. So again, spelling looks a little bit tricky, but this is actually quite predictable as long as we just notice that it's soft. Okay, so whose umbrella did you take? Чей зонт ты взял? Whose shirt did you take? Чью рубашку, right? Feminine accusative. А чью рубашку? About whose brother are you speaking? О чьем брате вы говорите? About whose sister? О чьей сестре, right? About whose sister? Feminine, right? Prepositional. With whose dog were you strolling in the park? С чьей собакой вы гуляли в парке? In whose house were you, right? В чьем доме вы были? 5, with whose pencil are you writing? Right? Чьим карандашом вы пишете? Right? Instrumental, masculine. Чьим карандашом. With whose father did you become acquainted? С чьим отцом ты познакомилась? Right? Whose father did you meet? We could say in English. Okay, finally, the forms of the possessive pronouns, right? Or also function as adjectives, right? They can act as pronouns in the sense that they can stand alone for a noun, but usually we're using them as adjectives to express possession, right? So usually we would use these with nouns. And if we look these over, we remember that moi and tvoi work exactly the same. So here you have a table with moi, right? But tvoi would work exactly the same. And we see that essentially this is a soft adjective, right? So the endings here are really no mystery for the most part. Okay, let's see. The second pattern is followed by nash and vash, right? Those two work the same. We look these over, we see here we're also basically adding soft endings. So as long as we pick up on that, these endings aren't really that unusual. Now just remember, this is one of those things, points of grammar that people always forget or they get confused about it. Yivor, yiyor, and ich, right? When they're expressing possession, right? So basically, whenever yivor means his, whenever yiyor means hers, whenever ich means theirs, right? They never change their form. And hopefully, after today's review, you can see the source of confusion, right? The issue is that these could also be accusative forms of the third person pronouns, right? The accusative of on, ana, and ani, right? Now, we know that pronouns can change forms. We just learned all the forms right now. They would change forms depending on the case. But again, these three particular forms, yivo, yiyo, ich, when they mean his, hers, theirs, expressing possession, they never change their form in any way whatsoever, right? That includes never adding an n in front, right? So even when these possessive expressions are used after a preposition, we don't add n to them, right? Okay, so a rather somewhat confusing point. Here are some examples. I received a letter from him. Okay, there, him, we're using the pronoun him, right? So we basically just need a genitive form of on, which would normally be yivo, but here, since we're using it after a preposition, we need the form with n, right? So I received a letter from him, that's я получил письмо от него, but from his brother, right? Here, the yivo means his, right? And brother is the object of the preposition, not yivo, right? Yivo is just a modifier. It's just hanging on to brata. So I received a letter from his brother, я получил письмо от его брата. Or I got used to him, я привык к нему, or to his easy chair, к его креслу, right? Again, его there isn't changing. It's modifying кресла or креслу in the dative. It does not itself become dative. Okay, let's fill in a few examples. Can I try your pizza? Можно попробовать твою пиццу? Number two, we were talking about your composition, your paper. Мы говорили о твоем сочинении. Special soft neuter. Three, have you gotten used to your dorm? Ты привыкла к твоему общежитию? Right? Soft neuter. К твоему общежитию. Okay, yeah, right. Have you already gotten acquainted with my family, right? Have you met my family? Вы уже познакомились с моей семьей? Number five, in my dorm there's not a dining hall, there's not a cafeteria. В моем общежитии нет столовой, masculine, prepositional. Six, in my opinion, right, in accordance with my opinion, so to speak, dative here after по. По моему мнению, это совсем нехорошо. It's completely bad, right? It's not good at all. Seven, literally on our course, meaning in our course, we will read Chekhov. На нашем курсе мы будем читать Чехова. Восемь, we spoke with our professor, instrumental, masculine. Мы поговорили с нашим профессором. Number nine, we really like your apartment. Okay, here your apartment is the subject, right? Your apartment is pleasing to us. Very pleasing. Нам очень нравится ваша квартира. Number 10, whose key is this? Чей это ключ? This is the key. Is this the key from your room, literally? Or the key to your room, we'd say in English. Это ключ от вашей комнаты. Feminine, genitive. 11, we got acquainted, we met each other at his party. Okay, now his, again, is never going to change. Мы познакомились на его вечеринке. Okay, so these final ones, the third persons, should be easy as long as we remember that we don't need to overthink it, right? We just need его, ее, их. In their apartment, there's not a kitchen, unfortunately. В их квартире нет кухни, к сожалению. 13, everyone's talking about her new article. Все говорят о ее новой статье. 14, we were sitting in a cafe with his father. We sat for a bit, sorry. Мы посидели в кафе с его отцом. 16, is his new car pleasing to you, right? Do you like her new car? Тебе понравилась ее новая машина, right? Did you like her new car? Okay, that does it now. I think for the most part for our case review, right? So we've now reviewed all the case endings and the pronoun forms, all this case stuff for the singular. So we've taken a very comprehensive look at all of these case issues, the case endings in the singular. Again, we'll add the plural ones in book 2. So now in the remaining lessons in book 1, we'll look at a couple other new topics that are actually pretty useful, pretty productive. Until then, до свидания, товарищи.